Number 10. Zombie star. While the idea of a human coming back to life and hunting for brains is spooky, to me the knowledge that dead stars can do the same, even the eating each other part, is both scary and exciting. This is Tycho, a former white dwarf, which is a star that has, quote, died and gone supernova, exploding into a fantastic show of cosmic energy and matter with the power and brightness of a billion suns. And usually a white dwarf will stay dead, but not in a binary system where there's more than one star at the center. Sometimes these previously deceased stars can come back to life. And they do this by feeding off the energy and material from their neighboring star and powering themselves back up, not unlike a zombie eating somebody's brains. Scientists believe that this may have to do with what they call dark energy as well, which theoretically makes up about 3/4 of our universe, but since we have yet to truly detect or understand it, these zombie stars will remain a mystery. But they look super cool, right?
In our number 9 spot today, we have the radio telescope. This is a photo of what was once a secret, but is now considered a huge celebratory work. This photo was taken during the construction of China's 500-meter aperture spherical radio telescope. This huge dish was constructed in a natural depression in the landscape and is the world's largest filled aperture radio telescope. The design is absolutely novel, which is why, while the telescope was first proposed in 1994, construction didn't start until 2011. It first observed light in 2016, and after years of testing, it was declared fully operational in January of 2020. If you're interested in space, you'll know exactly why this is such a fascinating and exciting creation. This radio telescope can give us beautifully sensitive observations that could help in the hunt for gravitational waves and give us more information of the mysterious and fleeting blasts of radiation that are known as fast radio bursts. Every step in the world of space exploration could have some wild implications on our world, and it's all very cool.
Number 8. Eye of Sauron. The Rings of Power just finished its first season as I'm recording this video, and since I still have Tolkien on the brain, this photo of the Fomalhaut system made the cut. A relatively young system at 440 million years old. For comparison, our sun is about 4.5 billion years old. Fomalhaut and its surrounding disk of space dust have been the subject of a lot of controversy in the astronomical community. The images captured interest scientists not only because they look like they came straight from Mordor, but because of the zombie planet that has been tricky to find. The photos taken show that the dust ring is not centered around the star, but is shifted and elongated into the eye shape, which indicates something of large mass on the outer parts of the system, which scientists believed could be a Saturn-sized planet. Investigations have been conflicting over the past few years, with researchers believing on and off that the planet exists, and with Hubble images being inconclusive, which is why we call it a zombie planet, because it keeps coming back to life in a way amongst researchers. The system may have gotten its strange ring shape from all of the comet activity as well, with over 2,000 comet impacts daily, many of those comets being over 1 kilometer wide. That would definitely kick up a lot of dust, so one does not simply walk into Fomalhaut. Number 7. Sunken. Okay, I threw this one in because it's currently spooky season while I record this, and having a jack-o'-lantern sun on the list couldn't be passed up. In 2014, the Solar Dynamics Observatory captured this creepy photo of the sun smiling right at us, like its features had been carved right out of a pumpkin. Solar flares and activity on the sun can be quite unpredictable, and the fact that it lined up to look like this is pretty cool. I just hope that there isn't some giant alien up there carving into our sun to decorate their intergalactic porch. But if that's the case, what are we gonna dress up Earth as? If Earth had a Halloween costume, what would it be? Let me know in the comments. Number 6. Greater pumpkin galaxies. Sticking with the Halloween theme, 120 million light years away in the Canis Major constellation, these two galaxies, called NGC 2292 and 2293, have earned a much cooler name, the Greater Pumpkin Galaxies. Because of their orange color and the fact that they look like a jack-o'-lantern, these galaxies doomed to collide in what we will see as slow motion make for a pretty spectacular image. Not to mention that NASA released the photos on Halloween a few years ago. Though it may be a fun Halloween-themed image, there is a scary truth about them. They're on track to collide with each other. And as the two galaxies draw closer, they begin to spin around one another and could eventually form one single spiral galaxy. But when that happens, there will be some cosmic consequences. Things smashing into each other at ludicrous speeds and exploding out into the darkness with the force of many nuclear bombs. But we don't actually know what will happen until it does. While some may say it reminds them of the Great Pumpkin, I would say that it looks more like a 100,000 light year across Jack Skellington. Number 5. The face of Mars. This freaky famous photo was taken by the Viking 1 orbiter in 1976 and shows us what is very clearly a face embedded in the surface of Mars. A massive one at that, judging by the scale of what's around it. It very clearly has 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth. Uncanny, really, especially for being what NASA has called a cosmic coincidence, because with enough time and space, literally anything can happen. When investigated again in 2001 with a better camera, it was not to be seen. Was it just a mound of rocks and dirt that was blown or moved away, or was it something more sinister, watching us from the red planet, not knowing that we were finally looking back? Number 4. Black hole in the Milky Way. Black holes, one of the biggest driving forces in the cosmos. These places of pure darkness were once stars that shone bright in the sky, but when they died, instead of going supernova and exploding into a blast of color and energy, they collapsed in on themselves, creating a singularity so dense that it sucks everything around it in, with a force that nothing can escape, not even light. And while this may sound scary, they are incredibly necessary for our understanding of the universe to function. In fact, there are a few in our galaxy, but the biggest is Sagittarius A, the supermassive black hole at the center of the Milky Way. This is the second image ever captured of a black hole, and it's insane that we've developed the technology to be able to find and photograph them. Sag A sits at the center of our galaxy and is the reason why it spins and has its signature spiral shape. But the scary part is that it is not only spinning our galaxy, but consuming it, adding one more way that our galaxy can meet its demise. Not sure I'd rather that or colliding with another galaxy. Either way, none of us are going to be around to see it. Number 3. Hand of God. This is what's known as a pulsar wind nebula, and what you're seeing is a cloud of material that was ejected from a dying star, captured by X-ray telescopes functioning at different energy levels, lower energy detections appearing in red and green, and higher ones in blue. While we can explain what this stellar specter is made of, we can't quite figure out why it takes the shape it does, and NASA is still wondering if the pulsar particles are interacting in a specific way to make it look like a hand. When the new readings were taken, the ones appearing blue, they realized that one part of the hand is actually shrinking at a different speed than the rest, implying that the two areas were physically different, and making us all wonder what the hand is reaching towards. Number 2. Ghost Nebula. Known formally as SH2-136, really rolls off the tongue. This reflection nebula has some pretty startling shapes appearing within it. A reflection nebula does exactly what you think. It reflects light from nearby stars and galaxies. The energy from stars nearby is not strong enough to ionize the gas of the nebula, but it is enough to illuminate the dust and make it visible to us. Looking at the picture, it's a no-brainer why it's earned its much cooler name, the Ghost Nebula. You can see little figures waving from the edge of the space cloud. They even appear to have horns. I'm not sure what that's about, but I'm here for it. Give me all the spooky space specters. Again, this is just one of those cosmic coincidences that we can't explain, and that if we existed at any other place in the universe, we may not see. So we're pretty lucky, I guess. But let's hope our luck holds out for our final entry. Number 1. Roaming black holes. Now, I told you about black holes, those things that suck in and destroy anything that comes near, even light, with no chance to escape. But they are pretty detectable, and we should be able to avoid them since they're such a huge cosmic entity, right? Well, what if I told you that there are many out there that are near impossible to detect, because they're moving? That's right. Known as roaming black holes, these death spheres fly through our universe, devouring everything in their path. Only detectable by fluctuations in mass and light, they were most likely 2 black holes that attracted each other, then slingshotted off one another and were flung out into space. But here's the kicker. The Hubble telescope actually detected one closer than anyone would want, in our own Milky Way. While pointed near the center of the galaxy at Sagittarius A, a fluctuation in light and space shows that we may have one of these devouring our galaxy, and we would never see it coming until it was too late. So there you go, one of my, and possibly now one of your fears, roaming black holes. Space is crazy and terrifying. It is absolutely baffling and will never cease to impress me the technology and knowledge we have developed in our time as a species to investigate beyond our own planet, especially since at the end of the day, we're all just monkeys with car keys.
Starting off this list in our number 10 spot today, we have the Rothschild Surrealist Ball. The Rothschild family is one of the wealthiest and most powerful families there has ever been, and you know with money comes power, and because of that, there have for many years been rumors swirling about just how powerful and influential they really are. That is why in 1972, when they threw what was called a surrealist ball, people began to speculate what kind of things may have taken place at this elaborate soiree. These photos could potentially be very innocent, but there's just something about these elaborate masks coupled with the theories about what this family is really up to that just makes it feel feel very eerie. This party is one of the most legendary there has ever been, and whether or not they really are involved in shady dealings, that is still impressive. It's like the Project X of the rich and fancy. I'll take pools and kegs of beer over this weird mask party any day.
Number 9. Alien bones. Captured on August 14th, 2014 by the Curiosity rover, this photo appears to show something on the surface of Mars that could chill you to the bone. A femur on the surface of the red planet. Many conspiracy theorists and alien enthusiasts alike hopped onto this to show it as proof that there was once life on Mars, or even that humans had been there before on some sort of secret mission that went awry. NASA has gone on the record to say that it's not a thigh bone, but just a rock that happened to be shaped that way after erosion from wind or water, which we have proven existed at one point. But come on. If it really was a bone, do you think that they'd tell us? Though I'm inclined to go with the scientists on this one, it would be kinda cool if we had proof of aliens on Mars. If you think there are aliens out there, hit the like and subscribe buttons to help us bring you the most amazing videos on them.
In our number 8 spot today we have John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy is known for a multitude of reasons, but discussions about his health often don't take place. This photo shows just an inch of the struggle Kennedy went through every day, as it is said he suffered from some sort of painful intestinal problems. Apparently things were so bad that for a while it was thought his illness might have been terminal. Aside from the intestinal issues, he also suffered from extreme back pain that stemmed from spinal problems he had as a child. Apparently these back problems were so bad that they almost kept him from service in World War II. After his election, although the world saw him as a young, handsome president, he really was struggling with his health behind the scenes, and it can definitely be seen in this photo. However, it is said that whenever anyone asked him how he was feeling, his only response was that he was in, quote, excellent shape.
Number 7. Stalin Photoshop. Deepfakes are getting out of control. Modern technology is really making it hard to tell what's real and what's not. I thought I knew what was up. Apparently my eyes fool me more often than not. Photoshop is also an essential now for pretty much any project, including your selfie. You gotta touch it up a little bit, get rid of those blemishes. But back in 1939, a photo of Stalin was published and he looks great. Some would say too good. Well, he retouched a 1924 photo and then used that as his headshot when he became a leader later on. Even if you get a photo with Stalin, you might not be there in the future. Yeah, there's a chance you would be digitally removed, even back in the day. Like Nikolai Yetov, for example. The leader of the NKVD was in a photo with Stalin, he was, but around 1937, Nikolai was responsible for orders that had over 1 million people arrested, and to make matters worse, half of them were executed for crimes against the state. So it wasn't ideal to be in a photo with Nikolai. He was denounced, imprisoned, and he died later on in 1940, so Stalin had him erased and replaced digitally. Look at that. If you look close, you can actually see Lizard getting punched by an invisible Spider-Man in the background. Yeah, we caught it. The man was ahead of his time. Even today, we're replacing actors in movies with different actors, and you wouldn't even know.
In our number 6 spot today, we have the secret Pacific Ocean airbase. Also known as the Johnson Atoll, this secret airbase is located right smack dab in the center of the Pacific Ocean. Said to be the location of numerous nuclear tests, the United States government was sure to release little to no details surrounding this location or what exactly goes on there. How comforting. Something about nuclear and secret seems ominous. Aside from being a little secret base, this place is also the home to a thriving community of nesting seabirds, and since it's literally in the middle of the ocean, the marine life surrounding it is significantly diverse. This has all led to there being teams that do environmental monitoring and maintenance to protect the wildlife. Like, how weird is it that this is the place they use to store and dispose of Agent Orange, but they're also like, we gotta protect the birds. I mean, I'm glad they're protecting the birds, I just think it's ironic. To get into this place, you either need to be a part of the United States Air Force or have a special use permit from the US Fish and Wildlife Service. So random.
Number 5. A bunny's tail. Back in 1963, the Playboy Club in New York was one of Hugh Hefner's greatest accomplishments at the time. The club was, of course, the talk of the town until Gloria Steinem came in. Gloria was a feminist writer. She created Miss Magazine back in 1972. She's a very big lady, I don't know what I was about to say. She's a big deal, but her career began much earlier, around the 60s. See, she got a job as one of these Playboy bunnies and worked at the club undercover. How badass is that? She was secretly taking note of how this key holders only establishment was operating. And it was pretty sketchy. I mean, use your imagination. It was horrible towards women. They were wearing high heels while running drinks. The staff were these young women, the bunnies. They had to wear these black bodysuits, the puffy white tails, the whole getup. And at age 28, Gloria worked undercover there for 3 weeks. The piece she released after, appropriately titled A Bunny's Tale, got so much attention that it kickstarted her freelance career. It made her a feminist icon. This photo of Gloria undercover shows you the comfortable work outfits she had to wear. I sure hope she had her non-slips on. It's a really dark establishment too. Say corner a lot. In a collection of her writings, Gloria reflects on the undercover piece, saying, "My expose of working in a Playboy club has outlived all the Playboy clubs, both here and abroad." That was before Hefner passed away in 2017. She didn't mean to, take a jab at him, but she also did outlive Hugh Hefner. I'll say it. She doesn't have to take the smoke on this, Sal. I connected the dots for you.
In our number 4 spot today, we have Cher. Cher is often referred to as the goddess of pop, and for good reason. She's an absolute legend and an icon. She's never been afraid to push the limits or go outside of the box, so when we came across this photo, we were both surprised and not so surprised at the same time. This little photo comes to us from 1959 when Cher was just 13 years old. As it turns out, Cher was driving when she wasn't supposed to. In a 2013 appearance on The Tonight Show, she explained that a friend of hers had asked her to watch his car while he ran inside to do something. Cher moved the car a couple of times to get out of the way of other people, but then decided that he was simply just taking too long and decided to drive herself over to the drive-in theater. Luckily, everyone was okay, and once the police brought her to the station, they simply just called her mom to come and pick her up. Apparently, she didn't even know she was being arrested at the time, which I totally think you can tell by her expression in the mugshot.
Number 3, Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky. Of course, we all remember this one. At one point, we heard about it, be it on LimeWire in the middle of your song, this would randomly play. Bill Clinton talking about not having sexual relations with that woman. Back when we had to download music, that was a classic. So loud, so out of nowhere, and so loud. But this was a huge presidential scandal, back when they weren't every other week. It was 1998. Clinton White House intern Monica Lewinsky was 22 years old, and they had a sexual relationship from 1995 to 1997. They definitely did. Lewinsky said she hooked up with Bill 9 different times at the White House. Apparently, according to your schedule, Hillary Clinton was at the White House for at least 7 of those visits. Whenever I see this photo, I wish I was alive to see this unfold in real time. I mean, I was alive, but I was 3. You know what I mean? I wasn't like, damn, that's crazy.
In our number 2 spot today, we have an A-12 spy plane. This photo is one that shows the remnants of a crashed A-12 spy plane from 1963, as well as the subsequent cleanup and rescue mission. This crash happened during a test flight when pilot Ken Collins was testing the plane's subsonic engines at a low altitude. Ken was then flying under his Area 51 code name, which was Ken Colmar, which is just the coolest thing. I really want a secret agent code name. Anyway, at 25,000 feet, the plane basically inverted and somehow landed itself upside down. So now Ken is flying upside down, and he knew he wasn't going to be able to recover, so he ejected himself. In the end, Ken was okay, but the same obviously couldn't be said for the plane. To make this cool story even cooler, apparently US officials later made Ken undergo hypnosis and treatments of sodium pentothal, which is thought to be like a truth serum, in order to be sure he relayed the details of the incident as fully and as truthfully as possible. That's serious business. Usually I just ask someone a couple times and then go with whatever they tell me.
And finally, number 1, Charlie Chaplin and Co. I'm wearing a hat now and a sweater. I'll never tell you why. When we think of Chaplin, we often think of the mustache, the physical comedy, the hat, the fact that he lost a Charlie Chaplin look-alike contest, yada yada yada, we know the rest. We remember the performances that he would give us for the most part. It's how you want to be remembered as an artist, ideally. Now when it comes to Chaplin though, those old-timey photos of the comedic genius also include his number of different wives, a lot of them being much, much younger. The first 2 being 15 years old when they were married, right? His first marriage was with Mildred Harris in 1918. He was 29, she was 15. Odd, that marriage only lasted 2 years, and then he married Lita Gray in 1924. She was also 16. Odd again, that marriage ended with a messy 50-page divorce where it was revealed Chaplin was pretty abusive in all of his manners as a husband. Still the biggest film star, regardless of how he treated co-stars and also ex-wives, he went on to marry Paulette Goddard 9 years later, who was 22. A bit better, but here's the crappy part. She said she was 18 when they met, so a year older than his ex-wives, and he was still pursuing her after she said that, so odd again. He moved into her mansion shortly after they began talking. 7 years later, that relationship ended too, and thus began his new relationship with Una O'Neill. Chaplin in his 50s and Una at age 18. He was the same age as her father. Makes the mustache a little less fun now, doesn't it? They both remained together until Chaplin's passing in 1977. We're talking about Pete Davidson when really we should be talking about Charlie Chaplin still.
Starting off in our number 10 spot, we have the TSAR bomb. This is a photo that was taken on October 30th, 1961. It was quite the Halloween spooky fright that year, as this is said to be the largest and most powerful nuclear weapon ever created and tested. The hydrogen aerial bomb was developed in the Soviet Union by a group of nuclear physicists that were under the leadership of Igor Kurchatov. The bomb was dropped by parachute and was detonated autonomously. While this test was meant to be a secret, it turned out to be less than well kept, as it was obviously a huge explosion that was detected by United States intelligence agencies. A secret US recon aircraft called Speedlight Alpha was there monitoring the explosion, and it got so close that it had its anti-radiation paint absolutely scorched off. The photo clearly shows the bomb as it exploded, and it is said that this bomb was 5,000 times stronger than the ones that were dropped on Japan during World War II. That's not to say that those ones weren't strong, because they were absolutely devastating. It's just an example to show how large this one really was.
Number 9. Winona Ryder. Back in December 2001, Winona Ryder was doing a little Christmas shopping at a Beverly Hills Saks Fifth Avenue, only she wasn't using her Beetlejuice paycheck at the counter. Instead, she stole thousands of dollars worth of goods. She had accessories, a handbag, clothes. Her arms were literally full of good stuff. She was then sent to the slammer for a whole, 4 hours. Then of course she was released on a $20,000 bail. She was charged with felony grand theft, but she was also charged with possession of pharmaceutical drugs without a prescription. That is a no-no in Beetlejuice land. She had antidepressants on her while she was being arrested. She wasn't intoxicated or anything. She was actually well-mannered. Even Lieutenant Gary Gilman of the Beverly Hills Police Department said she was a, and I quote, true lady. That's a true lady. That's what you gotta do. Just steal a bunch of shit and be in Beetlejuice. Security footage showed the actress cutting tags off in the store, and when she left, she was immediately detained. It's widely known at this point that Winona isn't a horrible person by any means. She was going through stuff at the time, but this photo, no matter the context, it just looks bad. Honestly, I think it's the floppy hat. She just looks like she's doing a diamond heist. I don't know.
In our number 8 spot today, we have the Pentagon crash. We have all heard about the devastating September 11th, 2001 attacks, but some of you might not know that on that day, there were actually a few separate coordinated attacks, all a part of the same plan, and one of those attacks was on the Pentagon. This photo was previously classified but eventually was released by the US government, and it shows the absolute devastation that was done by the commercial plane that crashed into the Pentagon building. The plane was able to tear through all 5 rings that existed in the building. All of the people on board the plane that day, as well as 125 people that were in the building at the time, passed away in this horrible event. For obvious reasons, the initial photos of the Pentagon damage were withheld from the public or from circulating in the media, but now that they have been released, it just shows us all another side to that horrible, terrifying day. In our number 7 spot today, we have Operation High Jump. This photo was taken in the late 1940s during Operation High Jump. This was a United States Navy operation that was aimed to establish the Antarctic research base Little America 4. It is said that the goals of this mission were to train personnel and test equipment in frigid conditions, determine the feasibility of establishing and utilizing bases in the Antarctic, as well as scoping out possible base sites, examining and amplifying the existing stores of knowledge of several different kinds of conditions in the area, such as geological, geographical, and meteorological, and this final one, which was initially denied, but apparently also to consolidate and extend the United States sovereignty over the largest practical area of the Antarctic continent. This final one was publicly denied for quite some time. This photo shows one of the ships belonging to the United States Navy stuck between 2 of the Arctic's icebergs. In our number 6 spot today, we have a UFO report. This photo is of a previously classified document from 1963. Although the document still has a lot of information that has been blacked out, the document is the description and report of an unidentified flying object or UFO encounter. This is said to have taken place over the desert of Nevada, and the report was written in detail in order to have a written record of this event. The document is said to be the authentic report from the FBI, which is exactly why some of the details have been omitted. This might seem like less of a big deal now, as in this day and age we have declassified video footage of similar kinds of encounters, but for 1963 this was huge, as discussions of alien or extraterrestrial life is a big part of our modern society. This document shows that these things have been on our minds for many years now. In our number 5 spot today, we have a flying saucer. Speaking of aliens and UFOs, one place on Earth that has a multitude of alien stories coming from it is of course none other than Area 51. This site is no stranger to conspiracy theories, and this declassified photo taken at the location might give us a little insight into how these theories began. This photo clearly shows a strange disc-like object next to some more regular looking planes, and I mean, to be fair, if we saw that disc flying through the air, it does resemble the flying saucer type UFO that used to be talked about in the mainstream as the preferred alien mode of transportation. As it turns out, this photo is actually of an experimental aircraft that was made by the United States Air Force, of course, which is why the letters USAF can be seen on the craft. This was one of the few aircrafts created for the purpose of trying out various air carriers. Similar ones to this were also created by the government and were actually seen flying over the southwest region of the United States, which surely only contributed to the UFO discussions. In our number 4 spot today, we have the Soviet spacecraft. This photo shows the construction of the Soviet Buran spacecraft. Apparently, this was the spacecraft that was built in response to the news spilled by Richard Nixon in 1972 that the United States was to build its own brand new spacecraft, which was to be designed by NASA. The Buran was the first spaceplane to be produced as part of the Soviet-Russian Buran program, and in 1988 it actually went on to complete an unmanned spaceflight that was extremely successful. Unfortunately, this craft met its demise in 2002 when the storage hangar it was located in collapsed. The Buran program was suspended prior to this collapse because of a lack of funds and the political situation in the Soviet Union. The collapse was because of structural failure that was caused by poor maintenance, and unfortunately the spacecraft wasn't the only casualty. In far worse news, 8 workers also lost their lives that day. In our number 3 spot today, we have Area 51 Part 2. This is another photo that was taken from Area 51, and it shows another kind of spacecraft that is likely the source of many UFO stories. At this point, Area 51 will likely always be a place that is filled with rumors of our wildest imaginations, even if they were to one day start offering tours of the facility. Rumors span from aliens to mermaids and so much more, and it is believed that the US government is intentionally keeping it all a secret from us. Since the infamous Roswell incident that happened in 1947, the Nevada Air Force Base is going to be the source of many a mystery. While I don't know the exact details of what is going on in this photo, this is just another small insight into what goes on within the mysterious walls of Area 51. In our number 2 spot today, we have this nuclear waste facility. For another Nevada mystery, high up in the mountains of Yucca, there is a super top secret location that has details which are not to be released to the public. I guess that was probably implied when I said the word secret. The reason this facility is so secret is because it is said to hold all of America's nuclear waste. This waste repository was designated by the Nuclear Policy Act amendments of 1987, and basically it is a deep geological repository storage facility. While the project was approved in 2002 by the 107th United States Congress, as of April 14, 2011, federal funding for the site came to an end. This site was the focus of many fights, as there were tons of people who were extremely opposed to it. The closure of the site has left the United States government and American nuclear power plants without any designated long-term storage facility. This photo is said to have come from the site of the nuclear waste storage facility. In our number 1 spot today, we have the experiment. This photo is an example of how, for a long time, the United States has done its best to stay on top of all of the latest kinds of technology and the most cutting-edge equipment. This photo is showing some kind of test that was being done on a prototype ejection seat. While this was once a classified photo, of course back when this was new technology, the Central Intelligence Agency has since released the photos in order to provide information on the technology that was being created during what now seems like the olden days of science. These times truly are not far off at all, and it's incredible to see how far we've come in so little time. This photo serves as a super cool reminder of just how technologically advanced we really are, although sometimes we may take that for granted.